Okay, so I think I have Millie Smith calling in. I just texted her during the commercial break just to see if she can shed some light on this story. And this is kind of important. And of course, the shutdown, again, as a non-parent, someone with no children. Oh, you don't understand, Glenn. You didn't have kids. So yeah, you're right. I don't understand. But let's see what Millie's got to say. Let's set this up. Is this First Lady, former First Lady of Watertown, Millie Smith?
Hello, how are you?
And how are you doing, Millie? Thanks for doing this on very, very short notice, literally seconds.
That's okay.
Yeah. So I just want to get, first of all, congratulations on winning another year.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And in the back of your mind, is that like a backhanded compliment to win out of the 4 seats available? 4 people ran. You got stuck with the 1 year again. What's that all about?
So listen,
Yeah.
you know, anybody who puts themselves out there to be voted in an elected position, you have to have thick skin for that.
Right.
You can't take those things personally.
Yeah, you take it personally. Millie, you take it.
Yeah, I don't.
You take it personally.
Well,
and I don't blame you.
Because if you really think about how many people went out and voted, we had under 500 people go out and vote.
Right.
Pretty pathetic for our community.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's a thin spread anyway. And if you really look at the number of votes, I mean, it's not like there was a massive difference.
Right.
You know, when you look at all the 4 candidates. I mean, our top vote getter had significantly higher votes than the rest of us. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm happy to be on 1 more year.
Right.
I'm happy to do whatever the community asks for. So I'm okay with that.
Well, that's great, and I love your attitude. I know deep down inside, if I got a couple of drinks in you would tell me differently. But I really appreciate. No, I'm just kidding. Millie, I'm kidding. I'm being sarcastic. So, Millie, I get an anonymous letter about the shutdown that happened recently. But within the context of the letter, they're saying, like, surprise, surprise. You know, they had someone that was under surveillance, and they knew this person, this young child, student, was trouble, and yet he was found on campus with a knife. Okay, it happens. It's big city stuff coming to rural America. We know that. But then within the letter, they're also talking about the possibility of removing armed guards there and bringing in an alternative. Do you know? Can you shed some light on that? Is this true?
Yes. So I mean, you know, I understand people's concern about that, but the details on and you know of how that decision came to be is currently right now the school is budgeted for 2 SROs, which is the school resource officers, and those officers are actually employed by the Watertown Police Department.
Right.
And they have been but we pay for some of that, right? We have to pay while they're in our school district during the school year. And then in the summer, there's arrangements that, you know, the city picks up that tab.
Right.
So what happened when everything was budgeted, our budget for 2 school resource officers went up by almost $100,000.
Okay.
So 2 school resource officers was going to cost the city school district $220,000.
Right.
So when we looked at that, you know, we had introduced, by the direction of Dr. Schmiegel, he had introduced the SSO, which are the non-officers. So what we did was hired Matt Flynn, who is a retired state trooper.
Okay.
He is able to carry a weapon.
Okay, good.
And he was designated to go to Wiley because we have a lot of issues at Wiley.
Wow.
And once he went there this year,
Right.
the feedback on him being there and being able to control the entire environment in terms of safety has been just unbelievably positive.
Nice.
So as the year went by, we realized that we could use more of those. Now, the school district can not afford $440,000 or $460,000 for 4 SROs. So all we did was we looked at it as a board and we looked at it as a directive from the administration. If we keep 1 resource officer, which we should have at least 1 so that it keeps our ties in with the police department, with $220,000, we can actually have 1 SRO and 3 SSO.
Right.
And then that would actually increase our manpower by 2 more people. So instead of having 2, we're now at 4. and we can provide more safety to our other schools.
Right.
And that is exactly what we did. So what happened is that people didn't really understand that. They thought, oh, my God, they're taking out the police officers.
Right.
We, in the spirit of saving money and being fiscally responsible, we're actually adding our force. Instead of having 2, we're going to 4.
And you're spending less.
And we're spending, or about the same.
Right. But you're getting more
bang for your buck.
Right.
And so there are, there's an argument there.
Well, yeah.
That an SSO cannot do some of the duties that as an SRO can do. Those are true. But then the question comes, how often is that happening? How often are we having to call our police officers into certain things?
Right.
Honestly, I don't know the exact answer to that, but all I can say is that it's not an overwhelming amount of times, because if that were the case,
Right.
then we would have not considered
making the alternative
down to one
right.
and putting 3 other ones.
So
I don't think a lot of people understand that, but that's exactly what.
Well, let me ask, what's the difference between a resource officer and a retired state trooper with a gun on him?
So if you are the SRO is currently not retired. They're currently hired and on active duty through the police department.
Right.
And a retired officer just doesn't have the same jurisdiction. So they don't have the same jurisdiction as an active police officer for some of the cases. Like, for example, I'll give you one example. So if we have a kid in one of our schools that for whatever reason is in danger to themselves,
right.
and we need to take them over to the emergency room, and one of our school psychologists or any administrator cannot accompany the young child to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
The only person who can really do that is a police officer.
Okay. Well,
so we would have to call one of the police officers and have that kid transported. That doesn't happen all the time.
Right.
It does happen occasionally. So that's one thing that you would have to have a police officer do. I mean, there's other.
I get it. Yeah. But to me, it's if you have a retired officer with 25, 30 years under his belt, I think that's more than in my opinion, especially in the heat of the moment when there's a fight or a knife or, God forbid, someone's got a gun. Yes, I know there's some logistical issues as far as what he can do, but I want someone there. But the other question, of course, Millie, we're talking to Millie Smith here, and people are going to say this, with a budget of nearly $100 million, when people see that this is one of the things that is scaled down because it's and by the way, does that police officer get that $100,000, or is that just part of administrative fees to, all the behind the scenes money?
The fringe benefits.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
they don't. We don't. No, the resource officer does not get 120. That's their budget.
But that's what we pay for. Yeah, that's weird. In my opinion, that's weird.
They're not getting. That's not what they're. They're not. That's not their salary. Those are all added fringe benefits.
Huh. Okay. All right. Well, are you all right? So, this is a concerned parent who, by the way, this wasn't even mailed to me. This was sent. Someone physically took it and put it in a nice envelope and dropped it off because this person wanted me to read this. So I thought of you immediately. Should we be concerned with this going into next year? We're at the end of a school year, another week or so. Should we be concerned with these changes, in your opinion, Millie? Sounds like we shouldn't.
No, obviously no one likes change, right? Everyone likes to keep things status quo. They like to keep things when they're comfortable. And you know what? Yes, if it was possible to have 4 SROs and we just had an empty, just a well full of money, sure. But the thing is that you made a very, very valid point. These guys that we are bringing in are retired state troopers that have had multiple, 20-plus year experience on the force.
Right.
That is, you're hiring someone that is highly, highly qualified, knows how to deal with these difficult situations, and has a skill set based on experience.
Right.
So are we
too.
shortchanging the safety in our school? No, I don't believe that we are. I believe that we're actually enhancing the safety because now instead of having 2 officers, we're going to have a total of 4.
Nice.
And that is going to provide more diffuse protection to our students and our staff.
So let me add, well, I'm running out of time, but when you say Wiley had issues, does that mean the high school is going to have issues in a couple of years because of what's coming up the ranks, really? Or should I word it that way?
That's a really sharp question on your part, and that's exactly what we're trying to avoid by adding our school safety officers. Mm-hmm. That is exactly.
Is this a product of COVID? Is this a product of COVID? Is this what other schools are seeing as we see the high school, in other words, 10, 12 kids that were in 9, 10, 11 years ago, or rather years old, is this a problem across the country now that they're going into the high school level where they could really be dangerous, if they are?
Yeah, I think there's a change in culture. There's a lot of what we're seeing right now is the aftermath of COVID and isolation. I think those are definitely contributing factors,
right.
But also family dynamics, socioeconomic status, resources.
TikTok.
There's a lot of things that go into the development of a child.
I gotta go,
and all of these are coming into play.
Millie, you're such a trooper. Thank you very much for short notice. Millie Smith, ladies and gentlemen, give her a big hand.
Okay.
Thank you, Millie. Have a good one.
Thanks,
Talk to you soon.
Okay,
thank you, Millie. AM 1240 WATN Watertown makes this legal. Up next, CBS.